And a lot of people see the early success of Side Hustle Pro. It shot up the charts. So first week out, it was top 50 in business, top 10 in marketing. Why? Because I created something that people already wanted. All I needed to do was launch it. And I want you to do the same. The first 3 moves I'd make if I were starting a side hustle today. And it's not what you think. All right, friends, I'm Nikayla, if you're new around here, and I am the host of the Side Hustle Pro podcast. And I have had many, many side hustles in my life. Back in the day, when I was first coming up in my career, I decided to test out being a publicist. And I just reached out to friends who were doing something that needed publicity. Like this guy I went to school with, he wanted to be a musical artist, right? He wanted to sing. And so I said, hey, I'll be your publicist. And then I was getting to write press releases, trying to get him booked for gigs. And I just had a chance to explore, but I jumped right in. So that's the theme of today. Because I realized that I didn't spend too much time on time suck items when I was coming up in my side hustle process. A lot of people hyperfixate on logos, website, the colors of their website, the colors of their Instagram, and all this different stuff. Now I work with clients who are scaling their businesses from side hustles to full-time entrepreneurship, and they are so proud sometimes to show me their logo and the artwork and the website, but they have no idea who their target audience is, who their client is, and who wants the thing they have created. And I want to make sure that you do not skip this step. So today I want to walk you through the first 3 moves that I would make if I were starting a side hustle today. And it's not what you think. So some context. For me, side hustling started in earnest once I graduated from business school. I moved back at the time to DC to live with my then boyfriend, now husband, and I did not have a job. I was graduating, having interned between my first and second year of business school. I put all my eggs in one basket. I really wanted that job. Even after I didn't get the full-time offer, I just kept pestering the HR people like, oh, you must have made a mistake. Is there another role? And I just was in denial. So much so that I waited too long to look for other roles, which ended up leading to me graduating without a job, right? So that was the time when I really realized oh crap, I need to figure out some side hustles while I try to land a full-time job. So what did I do? I got back to figuring out a few things, the few things that I'm going to share with you right now. So step number 1 is I got clear on a problem that I could solve and then who needed me to solve that problem. It took me a little bit to get into this move and this step, right? Because I was first focused on building my brand, and a lot of people are focused on building their brand. So I went and I set up my old blog. It's still up there if you want to see it, KaylaKSpeaks.com. No one knew how to pronounce it. No one knew what it meant. Was I trying to get speaking gigs? No one understood, right? And it was hard to pronounce at first sight because of, those letters just do a number on people. So I was hyper-focused on me. And that meant that I was producing a lot of content and putting a lot out into the world through my blog, but I wasn't making any money. And that's okay, because in the beginning, I was just trying to figure out how to get hired. So I thought, let me set up a portfolio. And many people do that today. You see them on Substack. You see them with the podcast. You see them with a website. I started doing those typical moves that people think, all right, this is going to help me cement my personal brand and get a job. But as I was doing that, I realized, okay, this is all over the place. No one really knows what I stand for or what I can do. I'm just writing blog posts, and I'm not really solving any kind of problem for anyone. And it's very hard to figure out who you want to solve a problem for. So a lot of times you have to start with yourself. I started with myself. Okay, I'm creating content and I feel like something's missing. There's a void that I want to fulfill for myself, and I'm sure maybe some others. And the void for me was I really wanted to be an entrepreneur deep down in my heart. I wanted to just never have to look for a job again. However, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what kind of business to start, but I knew that there were other women out there who looked like me, who had started businesses, and I knew they didn't jump out there and just try to hustle until their business was finally profitable. I knew that they side hustled. So once I zeroed in on those stories and knew that I wanted to interview those kind of women, share those kind of stories on my blog, and then ultimately that would lead me to launch a podcast, that was when I zeroed in on a problem I wanted to solve. My problem was I identified a gap in content and knowledge out there, specifically in the entrepreneur space, and I decided I would be the person to fill it. And before I filled it, I really looked. I looked high and low to see if somebody else was doing content similar to this. Sure, there were other side hustle podcasts, but none of them were speaking to this particular angle of Black women entrepreneurs who had scaled from side hustlers to full-time entrepreneurs. No one was talking really to side hustlers who were working a full-time job, who wanted to grow a business, a big business, not just have some extra cash on the side, but really a big business. So once I realized that, I said, okay, let me create it. So I got clear on the problem I wanted to solve and who needed me to solve it, were other people who looked like me, who were aching for this content and couldn't find it out there. So for you, the very first move I'd make is to get laser focused on the problem I can solve and the specific person who needs that problem solved. This is where most people get distracted. Like I said, they think the first step is to name their business, build their brand, make a logo, make a website. But your side hustle, it isn't just your brand. It's the solution you provide. So ask yourself, who am I going to help? What am I going to help them do? What's the transformation I'm going to help them with? And why does this matter to them? And these questions apply to service, client-based business, and product-based business. So if you want to create a product, you still want to know who am I helping? And what am I helping them to do? How am I transforming them? If you're making a body butter, say you are giving them the premier moisturization experience. You are making sure they transform from ashy to classy and with a little shimmer on top, right? Differentiate. Why is my body butter going to help them the most? Is it vegan? Is it scent free? Is it for a particular kind of skin? So even if you're doing a product-based business, these questions apply. And then you have to identify, why does this matter to them? Did they really ask? Are there people out there who are ashy? Do they need more moisturizers? Of course they do. And of course they are. But if you can't answer those questions for them, then they certainly can't answer those questions when they see your product or service. So like I said, when I started, I knew there was a gap in the stories being told about Black women entrepreneurs. I wanted to shine a light on those stories and provide real strategy as well for other people, not just inspiration. I wanted to have my guests share real tips. And there's always something specific that they share, some resource that they share that you can go and implement right away. So that clarity became the foundation of everything I built afterward and everything that I'm continuing to build. So once you're clear on the problem and who you serve, your content, your offers, and your marketing start to fall into place naturally. Hey friends, if you've been dreaming about starting a podcast or you already have one, but it's not creating the opportunities you want, I have something just for you. I'm teaching a free live class called Start the Podcast That Builds Your Exit Plan, and it's happening this Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And it'll show you why a podcast can be more than just you talking into a microphone. It can be the bridge to your next chapter. I'll walk you through the first moves to make your show discoverable and the 3 main income paths for podcasters, so you can see exactly how your voice can open doors to clients, sponsorships, and opportunities you didn't even know existed. You can save your seat now at sidehustlepro.co/free training. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/free training. Link is in the description. And if you're curious about what happens beyond the class, that's where my podcast group coaching program, Podcast Moguls, comes in. Inside, I'm coaching podcasters with topics that range from entrepreneurship to adoption, from running a DJ business to building a wellness practice, from perimenopause to dog training. Their niches couldn't be more different, but the thread is the same. Each of them has a message embedded in their hearts and minds, and I coach them on how to turn that message into a platform and a business. So if you've been wondering, what's next for me? This free training is your starting point. Don't wait. Join me live and see how your podcast can become your exit plan. That's Start the Podcast That Builds Your Exit Plan this Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Save your seat today at sidehustlepro.co/free training. I can't wait to see you there. Okay, move number 2. So the first move was getting clear on a problem you can solve and who needs to solve it. Move number 2 is validating fast. What I mean by validating is when you have identified what you think is a problem, you now have to speak to people to make sure that that's a problem. That means you need to get on the phone with people who you think are going to be your ideal client or your ideal customer. You cannot skip this step. Again, I told you guys, I coach clients each and every week who have skipped this step. So they have the product. They don't know who they're going to reach with it. They don't know who needs the product. So what happens then? Then we have to reverse. We have to work backwards. And sometimes they have to change their product, their name altogether because they skipped this step. So don't skip this step. All right. So once you have clarity, your next move, again, isn't to build that website yet. It's to validate the idea really fast. Before you spend months building something no one has asked for, you want proof that real people want what you're offering. And the simplest way to do this is to talk directly to potential clients or customers. Reach out to a few people who fit your ideal audience and have real conversations. I remember at the time when I was getting ready to start my platform, which is the basis of everything else that I'll do in the future, the Side Hustle Pro platform. It's a media platform. So it's a podcast, it's a website, but it's so much more. It's the beginning of my interaction with future clients. And when I was beginning to build this, I got on the phone with women who I knew were side hustlers. I knew they had some amazing job and had so much going for them, but they were still building some kind of hustle on the side, whether that was a fitness business, their own podcast, a body care business, a beauty business. I reached out to all of them to get their sense on what kind of information do they need from a potential podcast on this topic? What are they yearning to learn? What's missing from the conversation on entrepreneurship and how you build as a founder? And those conversations informed what would eventually become the Side Hustle Pro media platform. And a lot of people see the early success of Side Hustle Pro. It shot up the charts. So first week out, it was top 50 in business, top 10 in marketing. Why? Because I created something that people already wanted. All I needed to do was launch it. And I want you to do the same. So set up short calls, ask smart questions, and listen more than you talk. These calls are going to give you insight into what people actually need, the language that they actually use. Pay attention to that language. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And one thing that I didn't do when I was starting out that is now so easy to do, record those calls. Have a note taker join. If you do it on Google Meet, you can use Gemini. If not, you can use Fireflies. That's the note taker I use. Use that note taker. And then afterwards, you can download the transcript. You can upload it to ChatGPT and you can say, hey, I want to write some posts. Help me pull out some lessons based on the conversation I had, because these are some key pain points that I know my target client or my target customer has. And I want to speak to this to promote this post. Record, so you can look back and study and learn the language that your customers use so you can speak it back to them. These calls are going to give you insight into what people actually need, the language they use, like I said, what they're willing to pay for, and where your offer might need refinement. I've done this at multiple stages of my business, and it's always given me more clarity than any amount of planning ever could. And I also want to say this. When you are validating, it's really tempting to get stuck thinking about what am I going to charge? What price should this be? And get really in your head about, are you going to make money? What should it cost? And all these other things. And first of all, remind yourself that if I don't build a product, there's nothing for me to charge for. I can't make any money if I don't finish my foundational work that I'm supposed to do. I cannot charge for anything anyway. So remind yourself of that as well. But I was just speaking to a client and we were having this conversation about pricing, and she's like, what do I charge? What do I charge? And the key thing that I told her, and I'm telling you now, is you can always update your pricing. There's no sense in you going to market charging $5,000 for something when you don't have the confidence to sell something for $5,000. Maybe you need to start with something that's $50 or $100 before you try to sell something that's $5,000. Nowadays, social media will have you in a tizzy saying, don't undercharge. Make sure you charge your worth. You're worth more than that. And you know that I have definitely emphasized that you don't need to start at the bottom in life when you start something new. I have emphasized that on this show. But there are steps, meaning that you don't have to start out at a price you've never sold at when you are just beginning. Start where you're comfortable. Get comfortable saying over and over again, this is $97. This is $97. The price is $97 before you try to say this is going to be $5,000. Because guess what? You will not sell a single thing for $5,000 because you just don't have the confidence and belief in yourself. You think you do, but when it's time to actually sell, you need to get your reps in and you need some practice before you can have that roll off your tongue. Take it from me. So get comfortable. Start with the price that you're comfortable at. Start where you are, and you can always grow and elevate and change up your packages or your product later on. Move number 3 that I would do today, immediately, if I were starting a side hustle from scratch, I would build a simple funnel, not a website, a simple funnel. This is where so many new side hustlers get stuck again. They think, I can't launch without the website. What are you talking about, Nikayla? Or I need to build out all my pages first. I need to sit down and write 100-page business plan first. You don't. What you need is a simple way to move someone from interested to working with you. And that could look like one clear offer, such as one-on-one coaching, such as a resume template, such as an audit of their social media profiles, an audit of their career, personal brand, anything that you're thinking of. That could be that first offer, right? All you need is one place where people can find you. LinkedIn, Instagram, podcasts, TikTok, Substack, Reddit, Threads, Facebook. The list goes on and on. Pick one. Pick one that you're going to go all in on for the rest of this year. So you have one clear offer. You have one place where people can find you. And then you need one simple way to collect interest. It's called an email list. You want to sign up for an email list. I would have done that before anything else. I did do that pretty early in my journey, and it has been the best thing that I ever did. So what I did was I started with a tool called Leadpages, which allows you to put up really quick pages, aka it looks like a website, but it's really just you sign up for Leadpages, which there are other free resources that you can use right now. I'm just telling you where I started. So you can start with that, and you can put up a page for something like a webinar. In my case, one of the very first things that I monetized was I did a quick webinar for my program, Master the Gram. I then sold my course, Master the Gram, at the end of the webinar. And the price that I sold it at, I believe it was $97 full price. And then on the webinar, the promotional price was $49. So I'm not just giving you this advice. I use this advice. I wasn't comfortable selling anything yet. So I started out with a $50 product. And let me tell you, once my students went through the program and showed me results, I felt so confident and so validated in what I can do that that's when I raised my prices. Even though I had years of marketing experience, I had my undergrad degree, my MBA, all of this stuff, but I had never sold direct to consumer before. I needed to get my reps in and my confidence up. So that's where I started. So all you need is one clear offer, one place where people can find you, and one simple way to collect interest. I collected interest using that lead page, and then that lead page was connected to my email list. So when they downloaded my marketing freebie on Instagram, they were then added to my email list. And when it was time to promote my webinar, I emailed them, hey, this is what's going on. I sent reminders after reminders after reminders. People signed up. People came. People who didn't come got the replay. And then they converted to my course. And that was when I started learning about building courses, building group coaching programs, and building out my email list. When I started, I was creating content around the solutions and ideas I had for solving my audience's problems. And the content built trust. It opened conversations. It brought people into my world. And that's your funnel in a nutshell. Not a 5-page website, a clear problem, a real solution, and a way to bring people closer to working with you. So that Master the Gram example, the problem there was that creators and business owners did not know how to grow awareness of their brand using Instagram. They needed to master Instagram. And so I was very proficient in social media marketing. I had my first role in social media marketing back in like 2010. So I've been at this for a while. And once I launched my own business, saw success and saw Instagram growth immediately. And so people were hitting me up, asking me, how are you doing this? How do you do this? And that's when I realized I need to develop a course. I can't possibly talk to all these people every day, all day, or I won't be able to work on my business. And so that is how I learned that there was a demand for this. There was a need for it. And so I needed to create it. If I were starting a side hustle today, these are the 3 moves I would make. I would not allow myself to spin around in circles and overthinking. There's a place for that. You can give yourself like 2 hours in the morning on Saturdays for that. But after that, it's time to get to work. It's time to do it bad. It's time to do it ugly. Again, I leave up my KaylaKSpeaks.com website for y'all to see. You just need the basics to get started, okay? Start building your reps, start building your credibility, and start creating a space for yourself online that you built yourself. I built that website on WordPress. Nowadays, you have Squarespace. You have so many different sub platforms where you can create a quick website without having to hire a designer, because that's a later stage. That stage of hiring a designer comes when you have cemented what you sell and what you do. So the 3 moves I'd make, just to run it back one more time: get clear on a problem you can solve and who needs you to solve it. Validate fast with perfect client calls. 3, build a simple funnel, not a website, and start using it right away. Put that thing to use. If you have any questions about this, leave a comment on YouTube or send me an email at hi@sidehustlepro.co. I'll talk to you next week. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you will receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.